Well, hello, folks, and welcome to Latigo Canyon Road. And we're going to have a little demo of how to stand up mountains. Indeed, we are. So, Latigo Canyon Road, somewhere around 2,300 feet, I believe, maybe 2,500 feet. It doesn't have any massive cruxes that are going to make you cry, mommy, but it is going to beg of you to have some fitness. So it's a really fantastic early season climb. So we are arriving here without much stand-up spike fitness, and that is the stroke that we're executing here. It's called stand up and spike. Notice how that vector line is going to the rear. So there's no forward catch, folks, because on land you cannot forward catch. All you can do is double pull, stand up spike, and ski. Stand up spiking is a simple variation of double pull skiing. Spike, hard. Spike, often. SpikeBoarding. SpikeBoarding is a sport made up of stand-up spike stroke, Kubicross, and inside Kubicross strokes. That's 3 strokes. And the spike tip comes from none other than World Cup cross-country roller skiing. So our U.S. cross-country ski team, our NCAA cross-country ski athletes, they spend 70% of their season on wheels. And at the end of their ski poles, they're using the same exact spike tip that you find at the bottom, at the footing of that Sasoi skateboard spike in the hands of that athlete. So, folks, you must ski on land because there's no forward catch. And stand-up spike is a fantastic way to start your season, and it's a fantastic way to begin the foundation development, the core and the lat development in spikeboarding. So you can see in other videos of ours, we will demonstrate the Kubicross stroke, and that is a one-arm stroke in coordination with the scooter or skateboard kick, however you might like to call it. So, but believe it or not, when you double pole ski or when you stand up spike, the legs up hills, up mountains, not so much on flats, but up mountains, you are getting one of the most incredibly comprehensive glute and calf workout that you will ever imagine. It is insane how much work the legs do simply by transferring energy through their compression. They're up, they're down, but of course all the power that's being generated is out of the core and the lats, and then it's transferring down through the legs and into the wheels to make the board go forward. So stand-up spiking mountains, stand-up spiking mountains is something very specific into and of itself. And it isn't something you can just arrive to lightly, even if you're a great stand-up spike athlete or spikeboarding athlete. And all spikeboarding means is that you dominate all 3 strokes. So those of you who understand swimming know that you're not an IM swimmer unless you're swimming all 4 strokes. Well, you're not a spikeboarding athlete until you are symmetrically inside Kubicross, stroking, and stand-up spiking, or you're just a stand-up spike athlete. Now, stand-up spike's a beautiful sport, and that's all we're doing right here, and we're standing up mountains. So getting back to that specificity of climbing mountains in stand-up spike, boy, it's just an absolute delicious endeavor to get involved with, but it is very specific. And when you stand up mountains, you will lose your stand-up mountain power and adaptation and development quickly. You will lose it quickly. So you don't stand up serious elevation for 3 or 4 months, and my goodness, you aren't prepared to go stand up big mountains. Now, fortunately for this athlete, he's out on reconnaissance and doing media for this channel. And wouldn't you know it, he was lucky enough to spend 3 or 4 days in San Diego spikeboarding, and hadn't been standing up mountains for maybe about 3 or 4 months. And when you head out to stand up 2,500 feet, you ought to have done a few test runs, or at least woken up the body a little bit, and you probably need to have had a few seasons behind you. So this athlete began standing up big mountains in 2015 on April the 22nd, Earth Day of all places, in NorCal in Northern California on Mount Tamalpais. So it was the first time a big 90-minute effort was had by this athlete. And then seasonally, he's been standing up mountains ever since, to the tune of about, I guess 1,500-foot mountains, quite a bit, maybe 3 or 4 times a month throughout the entire year, and then 2,500-foot mountains, about twice a year or so. But fortunately, as we said, getting back to this SoCal trip, he had the good fortune of being able to just wake up the body a little bit in San Diego before coming here to Malibu, and that was with a mountain called Soledad and another one called Mount Helix. Now both those mountains are about 1,000 foot plus, and that renders into about 27 to 30 minutes for this athlete. And San Diego is blessed with having these little summits. Because if you can summit Soledad or Helix times 3, and you can be accelerating at the top of those little lumps, then you're ready to come on out here to Latigo and give it a go. So folks, don't go to Latigo and Palomar and Diablo and Tamalpais without being prepared and just letting them, kick you in the teeth and go home with your tail between your legs. You don't want to do that. You want to successfully build in stand-up spike slowly, and you want to be successful at every single summit that you go up. So you're looking at an athlete that was unable to do even a 10-foot rise in 2010. This was USA Cycling Category 2 bike racer, big heart and lung and big legs, and 0 development in the Nordic ski sports. So do not be confused, people. You are looking at a simplified form of cross-country skiing. A board and wheels is a board and wheels. I'll repeat it one last time, is a board and wheels. And you can do many things with boards and wheels, and one of the things people have been doing for 40 years at the highest levels of skiing, and especially in Italy, they've got a big tradition of it, and in the Scandinavian countries too, is to go up hills on boards with wheels using carbide spike tips at the bottom of poles. And they did it double poling and roller skiing, and of course slippery board's a slippery board. And if you're delighted by using Nordic movement and engaging core and lat and taking it up hills, well, that's skiing. So, but this is a very, very simple form of Nordic skiing, Nordic cross-country skiing. And of course, do a little history, and you discover that at its origin point, and for many thousands of years, cross-country skiing implemented one shaft. So you would never look at skiers on snow with one shaft and refer to them as anything other than skiers. Folks, just keep looking at that vector line and notice how there is no forward catch. And what's more is that there is no diamond triangle formation. There's a square, and you're picking up your square, and you're spiking your square, and your arms are staying at 90 degrees. So notice how the athlete's arms are creating a box, pardon me, and the arms are not outstretched, and the shaft is not held in the middle, and there is no forward catch. You can only ski on land, people. That's all you can do. But hey, if you can do anything other than ski, and you can forward catch up this mountain, well, by gosh, show up and qualify for Sosoi stand-up spike KOM and QOM racing, and you just might win yourself $8,000. So come on out. There's a KOM on offer, and first you do need to qualify, and a qualification run is very simple. It's not that tempo speed. It's at whatever you want. We just film you, and you'll be all ready to come on up and have a shot at some king of mountain stand-up spike racing. It's real healthy stuff, and you might enjoy it. Somebody out there in SoCal might be mentally tough enough, and certainly there's a lot of people physically tough enough, without a doubt. I know that there's some very serious athletes living right here on Latigo Canyon Road, and they're doing all kinds of stuff. You name it, they're doing it, and real hard men. So we invite them to start stand-up spike training and come on out and just dust this fat square meatball of a 55-year-old heart disease riddled man right off that little KOM podium, and let's get some real racing going, because the official time here is 1:22:33, taking away some of the neutral and also a little pit stop here that we do just to chat with the fellas who were working here, so we could let them know what we were up to. So 1:22:33 from the Latigo Canyon Road down at the Pacific Coast Highway straight up to the last stroke that's taken. That is the sort of official, unofficial time here for a KOM. And ladies, are you watching? Because, hey, I think California is about to make it illegal to pay separate prize money for men and women. Just read that on Facebook. Well, wouldn't you know that Sosoi is paying equal prize money to men and women on day one of the sport. So ladies, all you gals out there wanting to make history, you're fully invited to begin to train. And when there's a field of 5 to 6 of you, we will just begin to get you racing in stand-up spike and straight up this mountain. Pardon me. Holy cow. Winter here in New York, and a little bit of a throat cold there. So equal prize money for men and women, and equal opportunity for all, because stand-up spike and spikeboarding are transport sports, and the planet needs more of them. And of course, we also would do a lot better with stronger women, better planet. And the more they lead, the better life is going to be, so that we've got 48% of the world doing everything the way Mother Nature intended. And that's why those statistics are like that. So up we go here, folks, in stand-up spike. As you can see, things begin to get really beautiful when your helmet starts to kiss the sky and you begin to see the horizon line of the Pacific. And as all you folks living out on the West Coast understand, the Pacific gives you power, big power. So there's nothing like stand-up spiking right next to the Pacific, and that means Tamalpais, and that also means Latigo Canyon Road. Now look at that Pacific, and when you feel that power behind you, it will get you up really big mountains. So let's speak a little bit about how you approach these kinds of summit attacks, and that is by thinking of the time load. So do not focus on the road before you. You want to focus on time load. So at 2,500 feet rise, the time load is going to be about 90 minutes or so. Now 90 minutes is really short time. It's no time at all. And bike races are 5 hours long, and the world record marathon is 2 hours at the shortest. Well, who the hell is running 2:30s? Some of you guys might be running 2:30s, I guess. And when you run them, you probably aren't thinking about anything other than getting your splits right and keeping your gait correct, and many long list of technical arrangements that you're going to do. So So too should you be thinking of those things when you're stand-up spike racing. Many people look at stand-up spike and they quite don't understand upper body propulsion on land up hills. They understand it in granny gears on mountain bikes. And they understand it in granny gears on road bikes. And nobody flips out. Nobody's aghast. No one says, "Oh my God, that's so boring. Oh my God, oh my God." But when they look at stand-up spiking, they say, "Oh my God, well, I'm already a quarter way up the mountain. This guy's like just making tracks here. At 122, it's going to be over. So if you put in 122, you can make $8,000 bucks. Well, what's the problem?" So that's what you want to focus on is time, and not anything other than time. And of course, you need a slow adaptation. Look, a mother can carry a 40-pound child for hours on end. She could even stand at a cocktail party, flip the kid around left and right bilateral, and think nothing of it day in and day out. So I challenge the world's best obstacle course race winner, male or female, that doesn't carry a 40-pound child around every day, just to do that for 60 minutes. Your back will fall out. Why? Well, because you're not adapted. So you're looking at cross-country skiing here, people. And cross-country skiing is the sport of gods. And you need to develop slowly. But once you develop this functional strength, the stand-up spike or double pull, or hey, if you say, "No, that's not skiing," well, I'll say to you, "Okay, you're invited to go get some roller skis, some boots, and some poles, and put it on and double pole this mountain." And your time is actually going to go down, because double poling is about 15 or 20% faster, more efficient than stand-up spiking. So your time here in double pole is probably going to be about 106 to 115, depending on who you are. So if that's what you dig, then hey, do it. I'm just here to tell you that stand-up spike is incredibly casual. There are no boots, there are no bindings, and the wheels are going to roll over most everything that they encounter. Double poling and roller skiing is going to be a little more casual. That's it. Lovely sport, beautiful sport. But all we've done with stand-up spike is take the hips to 45 degrees, brought around a leading shoulder and a leading hip, and then incorporated all the power through a skateboard spike. A skateboard spike is very similar to a ski pole, but the handle is radically different. And once you get into the sport, you'll begin to understand why. Because that top hand is rotating and the tool is rotating inside of that hand like a ball in a socket. And if that doesn't happen, then there's no stand-up spike stroke, and there's zero performance, and you're not stand-up spiking up a mountain. Now, once you learn recreation, that can become transportation. Oh my goodness, folks, look over there to your left and on this athlete's right. Delicious. As I said, Pacific S Power. Once you learn stand-up spike, well, you've got core out your door. You can just casually go to your friend's house, commute 5 miles. It's very, very, very casual. Incredibly casual. I don't see too many people commuting with roller ski. And that's not dissing roller ski. That's just roller ski, guys. And by the way, once you begin stand-up spiking and you begin spikeboarding, you can just march straight into roller skiing. Well, why would I want to do that, you'd say? Well, you live in Los Angeles. And Los Angeles has a ski resort called Rim Nordic. And Rim Nordic has groomed trails. And skiing on snow is heaven. I'm going to repeat this again. Skiing on snow is heaven. And if you don't have the leg technique, all you're going to be able to do is double pole. Now, who the heck wants to go skiing and not incorporate a skate or a diagonal stride or a classic move? You're going to want to do that. So once you begin spikeboarding, you'll develop a core and a lat exactly like a Nordic skier, and you'll waltz right in, no problem. You'll scooch right in to cross-country skiing, and whenever you have any problems, you'll be able to double pull. If you haven't developed your kicks yet, just double pull your way around, no problem. But if you arrive to roller ski with nothing, with absolutely no upper body Nordic ski development, hey, God help you. It's not going to be too much fun at all. So the two sports are symbiotic. We personally love to do both. And also, of course, we are gunning for ski mountaineering. It's all about ski mountaineering for this athlete and a couple athletes who work at Sassoy. And you just don't show up to mountains and ski mountaineer. People, that just doesn't happen. It just doesn't. You don't go up mountains unless you have developed some Nordic upper body. It's plain and simple. Again, really focus on those arms. See how those arms aren't stretching out? They're just staying at 90 degrees. They're not doing much work. They're not doing much work at all. It's all coming from the core and the lat, and the core and the lat, over and over and over again. And all you guys who ride bikes, this is the same. Just flip your body upside down and it's cadence. So it's same as just floating a 53-17, just pounding it out. Bam, 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 and bam. And the legs, trust me, they're getting so much work, it'll blow your mind. Your glutes and your calves are just on fire. It's a very full body exercise. Stand-up spike, not so much on flats, but climbing, it's incredibly so. So notice how the athletes just get nice and tiny and small. You really want to get small, and a little bit of compression with the legs, a little more bent at the waist. Double pulling actually compresses a little more than stand-up spike, and there's just a terribly big opportunity to keep everything casual in between your loose and your tight. So in roller skiing, you're much more confined to 90-degree hips to the skis, and there isn't much rest opportunities for the legs. But again, it is a more powerful stroke, absolutely. A stand-up spike and stand-up spiking mountains is an absolute blast, and doing this is going to give you massive strength to begin to do crits in stand-up spike. And stand-up spike flat crits with little high side, low sides are gonna just flip you out, and they are so deliciously fun. These are some beautiful pictures here. You can see the road and how quickly you do begin to ascend once you set your mind to it. And of course, the Pacific adding massive power right behind this athlete, and just beautiful climbs just inspire, they absolutely inspire. And what we've got here is a camera bike right in front of this athlete. So stand-up spiking and spikeboarding occupy roads exactly like road bikes. So this isn't longboarding, folks, and this athlete's not going to turn around and come down sliding. As a matter of fact, the Sassoy company is working in conjunction with several universities now to develop an engineered fully operational disc brake. Yes, a fully operational disc brake the size of a regular bicycle brake, so that these descents could be handled exactly like road cycling. And you might say, well, how the heck did you get down in this instance? So we've been all over the country, and many ways to get down is just an Uber. Just take a cell phone with you and tap in 90 minutes of load or 30 minutes of load. In Golden, Colorado, you've got Lookout Mountain. That's about 45-minute load, 40-minute load. Just dial up an Uber, they'll come and get you. So I believe this is almost 9 to 12 miles, not quite sure exactly the length. Call an Uber, they'll just come and pick you up and take you down. And in this instance, our camera bike has fully operational disc brakes. So what we're going to be doing is coming down, and we're going to be velo spiking. And you're going to hear more and more and more about velo spiking, because velo spiking is simply just athlete or athletes who know performance cycling and they know performance spikeboarding. And the bicycle continuously gives speed to the spikeboarding athlete and also offers constant braking on the downhills. So if you've got a bicycle with disc brakes, all you need to do is lean into the back of the cyclist, and you'll get down anything you want. No problem at all. But again, if you ride a board and you like to downhill, hey, this is not the sport for you at all. Go do your standees, wear your flannel shirt or your leathers, whichever you prefer. Protection, no protection, suicidal, blitzo speed. Hey, downhill mavericks are gorgeous creatures, and we salute the last 16, 17 years, 18, 20 years of downhill longboarding. Gorgeous sport. World Cup downhill, amazing. Didn't come here to change any of that. You all want to do that? Hey, we got nothing to do with it. We're just going uphill. So just like roller skiers would climb this hill, this mountain, and at the top there'd be a finish, and they'd just unclip their skis, take their boots off, put some shoes on, put a warm jacket on, and get themselves driven down. So SpikeBoarding is going to have a fully operational disc brake that works at 45 miles an hour, no problem, because the structure of the board allows for it. So soon you'll be able to go just about anywhere a bicycle goes, and you'll be able to behave exactly the same. Stay the right-hand side of the road, hold your line, and just be another member on the traffic grid, causing no interruption and having respect for others. So that's what's going to go down, and that's what SpikeBoarding is all about. It's cross-country skiing over and over and over again. Simplified, simplified, and simplified. And you can walk right out your door. You can take all this recreation skill, all of it, and just commute to work, no problem. This athlete could be dressed in totally different clothing and just headed to work. Obviously, you're not probably going to summit 2,500 foot lumps, but hey, wouldn't that be cool, right? Imagine the kind of fitness if you took the long road and you did a 2,500 foot lump once a week and took the low road home. So guys, what we need to do is we need to begin to teach recreation that becomes transportation to 3 to 5 year olds and give them a shower at work. That's all we need to do in the next 30 years. And then those people will live completely different lives than we ever did. And the world and the planet will be a wholly different place, So if you want to stop millennials from having 50% more cancer rates than their baby boomer counterparts at the same age, and that's what's going down. Millennials, you've got 50% more cancer rates than boomers at the exact same age because of inactivity and because of sedentary life and because of obesity. And people are obese because they don't speak physical languages that they can use every day. SpikeBoarding is a transport sport along with cycling. And here we go, keep summiting straight up, and boy, man, the Pacific just keeps powering up more and more and more. And these pictures are so beautiful, absolutely gorgeous. This is a February day. Temperature must have been right in there around 55 or so. And a beautiful, beautiful day to do this in. If you're ever going to do it, you're probably going to need the whole day to do it. You got to get up here out of LA, and getting up and getting down is going to take about 3 or 4 hours. And afterwards, there's plenty of good eateries around here. Certainly, we tried one there off the Pacific Coast Highway and enjoyed it immensely. So definitely invite you to do that. All the folks in Malibu were very, very kind to us. The ones that we met a coach named Karen, and Karen was riding her road bike, and she trains 19-year-old soccer players. So Karen, if you're watching this, we'd love to hear from you, and we'd love to get your team going, and we'd love to have them become some of the first athletes in the world to begin to summit this mountain. So you might think this is the first ascent of Latigo Canyon Road, and it is not. Mr. Dan Bowen was out in this area about a year and a half ago or so, and he did summit this but did not get it filmed. So the first ascent of stand-up spike, Latigo Canyon Road, belongs to Mr. Daniel Walter Bowen of New York City. Did it at age 38, I believe. He's now 39, going on 40, and you'll see him again out here, certainly laying down some official times in front of the camera, and hopefully doing it also with qualifying times with what we hope to be many, many female athletes who begin to help make the history of SpikeBoarding as well they could. They can walk right into this beautiful sport and just absolutely own it. Just grab it, own it, and there won't be a story of women's spikeboarding. No, there'll be a history of stand-up spike and spikeboarding, and we hope to make that history with female American athletes. And if they're from South California, that would be incredible. So later on in this year of 2019, we'll continue these ascents as we said, at Palomar and Diablo, and again on April 22nd of 2019 on Earth Day. We would definitely love to be at Mount Tam, and this time making a proper video, same as you see here, because when we made the first videos of Tamalpais, they weren't all too good at all, and they were done with motorcycles, and we quite didn't know how to get them made in a decent way. And these videos are a little harder to make than you might think, and we hope that you're enjoying the proximity to the athlete so that you can really make note of the technical aspects of the sport. The closer you are and the more steady the camera, the more this is available for athletes who can watch and watch and watch and watch over again. We actually had to watch just truckloads of Olympic and World Cup cross-country skiing, and we watched them over and over and over and over again to watch that upper body movement and really analyze how it was. We could extract all of that upper body movement that skiers use and bring it into spikeboarding and stand-up spike. And of course, now with the benefit of us having figured out how to bring these pictures to you, you have the benefit of seeing high-performance stand-up spiking and begin to mimic it. So we're reaching about the halfway point here. We're going to have a little pit stop here just to say hi to the fellas who are cleaning up around here. Sadly, there have been some devastating fires, and the place needs a lot of maintenance. And we're going to be passing the house of a couple of our friends live out here on Latigo Canyon Road, and that's why we are out here to come visit them. And so we won't mention them by name, but hey, we welcome them to begin to start stand-up spiking. Some of them had equipment for a little while, some of them still have equipment. So gentlemen, and there are no ladies up here with gear, just gentlemen, now you know what it is that Sasoi spikeboarding equipment is for. You know what a skateboard spike is meant to do, and here you have a very good example of how to do it. So we welcome you to come and do it, and remind you to not forget to take the safety cap off the bottom of the skateboard spike, because it works a heck of a lot better when the spike engages with the pavement. So yeah, as we said, we're going to get to the halfway mark, more or less, and say hello to our friends in the power company, and to scooch right by. They had a lot of questions about what we were doing. They'd never seen anything quite like what we were doing, and so we just thought we'd explain a little bit that we were stand-up spiking and setting a little sample for Malibu and the rest of Los Angeles and all of SoCal to see what wonderful sport this is. And after stopping with them, there's also going to be a little bit of a downhill. Latigo Canyon Road will go down twice before it finally finishes where all the hard, tough-ass gals and guys know to finish, which is the little white fence. Do not give up until you make it to the little white fence. So once you make it to the little white fence, you have reached the top of Latigo Canyon Road. And the first descent is rather mild, and it doesn't really require a neutralization. You'll be able to carve it out. You'll be able to ride it out, no problem. We like to keep our speeds in check, right around 30, 32 miles an hour, not much more than that. Again, as I said, it's not a radical driven sport. And on the next downhill, there was quite a bit of dust. And again, we don't slide. We're not in the business of sliding. We're in the business of making a break, keeping everything cool. So we neutralized this race 1 minute. So you can look at the time code where we're at. We took 4 minutes 27 and turned it into neutral. So that's how we came up to the 1:22:33 time from when the picture starts down at the sign. And there's also a little bit of wetness coming off the mountain, and since we didn't want that wetness to come up onto the camera, so we slowed up a little to make sure that was dry. But we'll go through that as we follow these little obstacles. And as you can see, a little bit of this mountain, a lot of this mountain has quite a bit of fire damage. As you can see, the plants have actually all been roasted, and God bless all the folks who are up here, and we sympathize with your losses, and we're sad to see that loss and can't wait to see everybody get their happy homes built and back up. Then hey, maybe some skiers will show up here from the Berkey or from Putney, Vermont, somewhere around there, or maybe even from Montana or Denver or DU, or some young skier might show up and double pole this mountain just for fun, and say, hey, we can do that too. So we had that happen at Tamalpais. We invited a good skier out to Tamalpais, and he double poled. He's none other than Matt Leach, the winner of the Berkey, and he double poled Tamalpais in 1 hour 9. And we set a 1:27 time at Tamalpais from Mill Valley down to Home Depot, up the East Ridge, up to the antenna. And so we'd love to see skiers out here doing some double poling. Skiing's the sport of gods, folks. Trust me when we tell you, you either learn to ski or you will die wanting to. So sadly, cross-country skiing, grassroots development has never been done properly. Certainly not roller skiing. There's not one child, not one teenager roller skiing in the Los Angeles area, in the San Diego area, in the San Francisco area, in the New York City area, and the Atlanta area. Shall I go on? And if you're developing grassroots development of an endurance sport, well, by gosh, you ought to try developing as many human beings as you can. And seeing as cross-country skiing gets practiced 70% of the time on wheels, well, wherever there's pavement, wherever there's kids, if they're not skiing, you're doing something wrong. So SpikeBoarding hopefully is going to help begin to do some things right, get some more people roller skiing, and then we could just summarily dust off the Norwegians pretty quick, since we're a country of 300 million and they are a country of 6 million. So it's all a genetics thing. Cross-country skiing doesn't run in the blood. Spaniards do not have bullfighting in the blood and flamenco in their blood. That's just not something you're born with. So that's all like myth, hype, hyperbole, and money and business. So cross-country skiing happens for a lot of different reasons. Mostly after the Industrial Revolution, people want to sell skis. And where there's snow, they sort of tell them this little mythology that it's in your blood. Well, it's not in your blood. So anyone can do it. And SpikeBoarding is a simplified form of it. As you can see, we're gaining a little speed here. It's nice when you start picking up speed and stand-up spike. And actually, the stroke can go a little faster than the other stroke, because once you begin to go over, say, about 19 miles an hour, it's real hard to carry your speed with your legs. So stand-up spike can go to maybe 22, 25 miles an hour, and at Kubi Cross about maybe about 19, 20 miles an hour. Then you just can't carry the legs fast enough. That's the first little bit of downhill. As you saw, there's a tiny little foot brake there, and that was headed into some of the dirt that had come off from a water runoff. But that neutral section, that's not even a neutral section. You can carry your speed through there, and if it didn't have a camera bike right in front of you, you wouldn't necessarily need to even taper speed off. So this road is closed to traffic, so we went around that, we crossed those double yellows knowing that this road is closed, and went around that dirt right there. And we're just continuing on, and again here we're going to run into the road crew just a little bit, say hello, tell them the name of the sport, what we're doing. We're going up and down and head back to our buddy's house, try to see if they're home, say hello, show them how to take a safety tip off the skateboard spike, and continue on up this mountain. So as you can see, there's a certain amount of fresh quality left in this athlete, and this is not a big heavy slog where you're just frozen still and you have no strength whatsoever in your tank. You should again be able to repeat summits like Soledad and Helix in San Diego 3 times more or less. So you should be able to summit 1,200, 1,500 foot stuff 3 times before you head out to these kinds of summits, or you're just not going to be successful. And if you come from a flat area and you do not have the ability to repeat well then guess what? You're going to be just like living in Kansas or Chicago. Just like if you're a cyclist, you're just going to begin to develop flatland time trials. So that's what it's about. If you don't have mountains, you can't really go to mountains and just stick them. You got to have at least some hills. If you have some hills, you know, I know the skiers from Wisconsin and Minnesota, they don't have big summits, and what they do is they just drill small 100, 200 foot rises 30 times straight, and that can work as well. But you just can't come to these things with no elevation whatsoever done and then just pull them off. So as you can see here, there's a little bit of mud as well. There's a lot of rocks, and as you can see, urethane wheels on the board. You can power straight up through them. You could double pole that stuff on roller skis. You'd be a little hard pressed to skate it. It might be a little loose on you, and you could probably classic roller ski it if you wanted to. All in all, it's not really much fun for anybody. You want to keep your board and your skis on pavement. That's what you want to do. But the board will certainly power through it very well. And of course, you'll never cross your tips in stand-up spiking because you've only got one. So you figure out some way to cross your tips. You show it to us. But having only one tip, you will not be able to cross your tips. So technically, let's jump back into that again a little bit and see that there's a leading shoulder. So that would be the shoulder on your left. The athlete's right now is ahead of the other shoulder, and so is the hip. And notice how that vector line is being kept parallel to the board. So you want your vector line to go parallel to the board, and the more out of parallel that you go, for every degree that you go out, you're just going to lose more and more and more power. You don't want your spike going out more than 1 or 2 degrees. If you're 3, 4, 5 degrees, that's not optimal. If you can stay between 2 to 4 or 5 inches away from the board is what you want. And to do that, you're going to have to push your leading hip around and push your leading shoulder around, and then drive through. Here's a really good close-up shot, and you can see how much rotation is happening on the top of that skateboard spike. And without that skateboard spike, you cannot rotate in that fashion. It's a tremendous amount of ball and joint rotation, and the tight and loose of all performance and recovery strokes. In this particular stroke, the tight and the loose are incredibly tight on the grip. And once you hold a Sasoi skateboard spike and use it, you will understand how that is achieved. And you'll also understand the top handle and how it works very well with loose and tight. It is not a size-specific top because you're not actually doing a size-specific requirement. Just placing power along the top side, and most any size hand is going to be able to use that. So the Sasoi skateboard spike in width does matter quite a bit, and it's fabricated in a 23 and a 25 and a 28 millimeter width. Depending on your size hand, that does matter quite a bit. There's the Mighty Pacific right behind us, and it keeps pushing us up. So there's quite a bit of work to do on some of these little switchbacks. And what you want to try to do is do as little work as possible, and that would mean riding the ridge. Ride the ridge of the road as much as you can. And that means pay attention not going into those gullies. And here we stop just a little bit, and they are bewildered, absolutely bewildered, and they want to know what the heck is the sport that you're doing. What's that called? They've never seen it before. Just explain a little bit how we're summiting this road and popping up and taking a little breather here. And our camera bike is explaining how far we're going to go up and then how far we're going to come back. And when we leave, they were very happy to hear how it was we were doing this. But she's pointing to the board saying, what the heck is that? And where did it come from? All kinds of manner stuff like that. Really nice fellas. Good to see them. Nice to talk with them. And off we go. And up we go. So also mentioned that our friends here on Latigo Canyon Road would be following us next, and that they would see them doing this in short order. So guys, and you know who you are. love to see you out here. You got the gear, you know what to do. Take off the safety cap. Remember, it works a lot better without a cow cover on it. If the spike can engage with the pavement, then you're really in for business. So here we go for the next half of this ascent, and then there will be the neutralized 3-minute descent, where we'll really be leaning on that bicycle to get us down. And as we were mentioning, the analysis of the stroke, when you do climb, notice how those elbows are tipping in, they're pulling in, they're making sort of like a diamond formation, and not staying square. When you stand up spike on land, flat land, pardon me, you are going to remain with that square, a little more square, and when you climb, you're really going to pull down on the elbows, turn it a little more into a bit of a diamond. But if you can see, that rear foot is just coming up just a little bit, and what that's an indicator of is that the hips, you want to push your hips as far forward as you can, and that's going to maximize the point of contact, most advantageous point of contact for the spike tip, so that you could drop your body upon the stroke. So notice how that upper body is just falling into that vector line, and all that power from the upper body is going in through the shaft and also being shared out throughout the legs. But that rear leg is coming up just a little bit now and again, and just allowing those hips to come forward. It's probably the aspect of the technique that is hardest to remember to continue to do. And also, you can only do so much of it when you are climbing. See, that rear foot's just coming up a little bit, and that is an indication that the hips are coming a little further forward, that much further forward. Like if you remove that spike exact moment that the stroke was going down into its power phase, the athlete would probably fall over forward. It's leaning forward just a little bit, trying to maximize as much gravitational force and advantage that the body can offer. And of course, this kind of activity is going to require that you do maintain a certain amount of race weight. We were a little bit overweight for this endeavor, but of course it's early in the season, and as we were saying, this mountain doesn't have sort of cry-mommy climb cruxes that are just gonna, tear your heart and soul out. So it's a really good early season summit. Most everything here is about 7-8%, and none of it's going to go into 10 or 12% grades. And those kinds of things can really necessitate having to understand how to self-arrest and having the survival skills to do 100, 200, 300, 400, 500 meters of super steep grade, and micro millimeter advancement. That is part of the sport. You will get to those kinds of situations, for instance at Whiteface Mountain, and early on, very early on at Greylock Mountain in Massachusetts, the top of that state. Early on at Greylock, you'll get into some survival cruxes, and you'll need to know how to do that. And we'll begin to teach that and show that. And part of it also is very mental. So when you get into cruxes that you think are just going to destroy you, you really have to zero everything else out and know that as long as you're self-arresting, not even moving, if you're just self-arresting literally millimeters, okay, 1 millimeter at a time, you'll be fine. You'll pound it out. It's going to happen. You just need to get beyond the crux. So more or less after 8% grade, after 8, 9, 10, and there certainly are things that are far too steep to be stand-up spikeable, but go ahead and look down the mountain there. As you saw, there was a turn, and we were just down there. So just set your mind to it, keep tapping it out, and you're going to go up it. This mountain is very accessible, very accessible. I'd say it's the beginning of expert, but it's certainly not at the top end of expert. Tamalpais will put a hurting on you far worse than this, and so will Whiteface Mountain. Over in Colorado, Lookout Mountain doesn't have any cruxes, has 2 switchbacks that are going to make you think and feel, but nothing just intolerable that'll just destroy you. But Tamalpais, as I recall, will really dole it out. and you're going to need to have some self-arresting skill sets there. But love to see these switchbacks always. Just a moment ago, we're right down there by that burnt out tree, so as you can see, it does go, and really the time is going to be at 1:22:33, so less than a marathon, people. So put your head in the water and go ahead and swim around Alcatraz or whatever distance you're doing, and ask yourself how absolutely exciting that is. So some people have been mentioning how boring stand-up spike is. I'm not going to venture to say whether it's boring or not. I'm not even going to make that judgment call. I'm just going to tell you that there's a great deal of athletic endeavors and activities that move far slower and are much more tedious than this activity. And of course, we could be double poling this mountain just the same as we could be stand-up spiking. And in effect, we have double poled several mountains in this country. Bear Mountain in New York, and of course the one that went head-to-head with stand-up spike and double pole with this exact same athlete was at Lookout Mountain. So if you want to see that video, we might add it down here. If we don't, just Google double pole and stand-up spike and Lookout Mountain, and you will see one athlete, the exact same athlete, double poling and stand-up spiking the exact same summit. And then tell us which is legitimate and which is not, and for what reason. And we'd love to hear that, because double poling has been used for millennia, and it's been raced at World Cup forever and ever and ever. And of course, double poling in the classic races is now, in all their brilliant wisdom, FIS is deciding whether or not they're going to allow the classic races in Scandinavia to be raced full out double pole or not. It's absolutely ridiculous what FIS is doing in trying to control that. The sport is going faster by double poling with very long poles, and they should allow that, and they should just have another category where people have shorter poles and they diagonal strike. But in any event, you're looking at a modified form of cross-country skiing, and the efforts are verbatim exactly the same. Only, as we said, this is recreation that becomes transportation very, very quickly. But also, the effort is much harder. It's about 20% harder to stand up spike a mountain than it is to double pole a mountain. And when you get to the top of these summits and you have done stand up spike up them, you will feel like a new person. And the first thing a new person needs is to stand up another mountain. I guarantee you it is highly addictive for all those of you who like high tempos and constant cadence and endurance. Stand-up spiking is cycling upside down. That's all that it is. And with a little bit of getting used to, you will realize that riding a bike 70 miles or going out to stand-up spike certain distances or climbs is actually the same. So if you're a roadie or you're a mountain biker, after doing a summit like this, you're going to have more core and upper body, and you can just go out and cycle the next day. And of course, if you are stand-up spiking or spikeboarding at high performance level and then cycling as well, well then you're actually practicing the sport of velo spiking. And we're much more excited about velo spiking than we are of spikeboarding. And because multi-sport always rules. Multi-sport always rules. And of course, velo skiing would be the same. Just no skiing really, really well, and no cycling really, really well. You can race them as well. We will begin to race them. We will begin to race velo spiking a little sooner. And of course, for all you people that know cycling, we are doing Madison slings. Madison slings between board and bike. And so you've probably seen here that this has gotten a little flat, and we've picked up quite a bit of speed. As soon as it starts to get into 4 and 3, 4, 5% gradient, you can really begin to jam up here. Sadly, you see a home that was lost to the devastation of the fire, and it was sad to see so many homes that were gone. And then over here on the right, you'll see a home that wasn't lost. And of course, we wonder why that happened, but it looks to me like that house is just on a peak, and it had absolutely no vegetation near it, and there was no way for fire to just jump over and destroy it. But, good luck, and God bless all the people who live out here, and hope that they are back up and running really soon. And meanwhile, Latigo Canyon Road will be an amazing place to set all kinds of records, and hell, we'd love to see it on a World Cup circuit soon, as soon as we get enough athletes going with us. And we'd love to come back here and show you a Kubi Cross Summit. The next day, we actually went to the Griffith Observatory, which is, again, it's a little bit, well, it's smaller than Soledad and Helix, I think, but we went up that summit in Kubi Cross, and again, Kubi Cross is when you kick and strike at the same time. You're going to kick and strike the pavement on both sides of the board with thrust, and you can go just about up anything. So 14% grade wouldn't be a problem. You power straight up it. So we're going to have to set a Kubi Cross time here on this summit sometime soon, folks. We're going to have a production vehicle, and our road show is going to be coming around in 2019. So look out for it. We will be coming to a city near you. So if you're interested in getting 5 or 6 people together for clinics and buying equipment, we'd love to come to your town and turn you on to SpikeBoarding and get you going. So as you can see, some of that pavement's been burned up. It was really pretty bad. So a little bit of recovery that needs to happen here. So don't come on out here unless you've got some friends on the mountain, because these roads are a little closed, and these guys are working on it. We're making our way up this mountain and focusing on our stroke and our technique and the body and how good you feel, and not on making it to the top. Notice how the athlete isn't looking up all too much at all. There's something very psychological about looking up in stand-up spike, where when you look up, the mountain looks back at you and sort of puts a boot in your face and says, no, and if you look long enough, the mountain's going to convince you of that. And if you don't look at all, you're just going to scooch straight past. So sometimes it's nice to, as you just saw, athlete looks up the road a little bit and gets an idea of how much further the next corner is. And if you want to do corner to corner, that's fine. But actually what's best is usually when you just get lost in the rhythm and the cadence of it. And if you can get a call of the last 500 meters, that's always nice. So you can accelerate. You want to begin to accelerate and finish strong. But also, of course, naturally, like all climbs, any of you who have climbed in cycling know that you begin slow and you finish strong. You don't want to, you can always add, it's very difficult to subtract, and in stand-up spike, you can blow up a lot easier in Kubi Cross when you're kicking and spiking than you can stand-up spike. It's funny, stand-up spike does not have that high a heart rate. It's a very interesting activity that is very much pure strength with endurance supporting it. So as opposed to say the Kubi Cross, which is a lot more like running, and running, of course, especially uphill, running is going to be huge endurance and stamina and VO2 max, and you're going to blow your heart lungs before you're going to blow your legs. And stand-up spike, you might blow out your strength before you blow out your VO2 max. It's very interesting because you can only go as fast as you are strong with a supporting cardiovascular system. Whereas when you start Kubi crossing, man, you could just blow out your heart lungs really fast and come to an absolute stop way before you blow out your legs. Your legs will be called upon, but your cardiovascular can blow really quickly. So that's a very interesting sport. And when you guys try it, you'll really understand that your strength blows out before your cardio. Or let us know when you guys start how that happens. So here comes a resident pulling around, and we hear them. We'll just pull right over here, let them by, and keep marching up. And as you can see, the mighty Pacific just keeps pushing us up this beautiful summit, and of course, incredible skies. And when higher you go, the more the sky starts to mix in with you and get you more and more excited. And right about now, you do start thinking about the summit a little bit, and you start thinking, well, I didn't come this way for nothing. And just keep focusing on that, and you're going to make it, especially if you've had some respect for the sport and the distance, as Greta Weiss used to say. Respect the distance, the great marathon runner. So respect 2,500 feet. Don't come to 2,500 feet until you know that you can do it. So if from the very beginning of practice, whenever you begin to practice, you begin to gauge and understand what kind of elevation you can climb successfully, and always be successful in everything you climb, whether it's 2 feet, 10 feet, or 9 miles. You want to be successful. So winning is winning is winning. And once you win, you can win more. And at a personal level, we all just compete against ourselves. And so if you can successfully climb every single thing you ever attempt, you're going to feel fantastic. And if you go out and you do not, and you fail, and you chew off more than you can do, it's not going to be nice. We thought we had someone behind us as we looked around our shoulder. It's not going to be nice for you, and you're not going to enjoy it. But if you can chew off every single summit that you ever do, wow, you're just going to feel like a new person every single time. And all a new person wants to do is stand up spike again, 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 and again. And it leaves you, guys. It leaves you. You just don't stand up spike. So you can't walk away from it. You can't say, oh, I'm going to stand up spike, and then 2 years later you say, oh, I'm going to come back to stand up spike. You just can't do it. It's the same in cycling, but it's a little more forgiving. So mostly, you know, if you're climbing fast, if you're climbing really fast, you know, there's going to be people who can big ring all this climb. This is just like flat stuff for them. They'll just big ring this and power through it. But they're doing it all the time, and then they might come back and, oh yeah, well, I've been away for a year or two, you stopped racing or what have you, and you know, you'll come back, you'll flip a 39 and, you know, pop a 17 in there and sort of crawl up this thing. But that just doesn't happen in stand-up spike. You walk away from the sport, you know, even just a few months, and it's very interesting. You'll come back and there's nothing. But if there was base in there, you can revitalize it very, very quickly. As we said, this athlete had walked away from it a little bit, being out in New York and being cold and busy and doing a tremendous amount of office work, and hadn't really been doing any big climbs at all. No, biggest 1,200 feet. You want to be able to you can do 1,200 feet stand-up spike once a month. That's going to keep you alive. It's going to keep your stand-up spike muscles alive. Certainly would have come to SoCal and come to Latigo first without going up Helix or Soledad. I don't think we would have made it. So as it is, we're sort of lucky to have gotten away with it, showing up outside of race weight and without the adaptation. But again, this athlete's been summiting big since 2015, and base always helps quite a bit. But as you can see, there's a little bit of hurting in this athlete, and they're just focusing on this downhill that's going to show up here. And when you know there's a little downhill that's going to come, makes you a little happy because you're going to neutralize it. You're going to get a little bit of rest, and it's not a pure uphill and solid uphill. Something like Whiteface Mountain is pure. There's no downhill to it at all. So if you guys really want to get a big bad hurting on, just shoot yourself over to Whiteface, and you'll know sheer pain and agony. Stand up spiking that down from the candy store. Yeah, that's a really vertical climb. But again, Tamalpais, you guys out in California, if you want to come out on Earth Day, Mount Tamalpais, give us a call. If you want to come out, ride a bike, pace us up. Oh boy, we'd love to have you. Even on a bike, could be a lot of fun. So for all you people who like to have a little fun and you're not consumed completely by racing, or you need an active day of rest, and you just want to crawl out, boy, boy, we'd love to have you out. And all you skiers who are roller skiing, Tamalpais, come on out, double pole on up with us. There should be a bigger tradition of double poling up all of America's mountains. Skiing is a sport of gods, and those of you who ski know it. Those of you who don't are going to find out about it sooner or later. So American women have done what American Olympic men have never done, and that is that Jesse Diggins and Keegan Randall won gold medals in cross-country skiing, and Olympic U.S. men have never done that, and Olympic U.S. men will never do that for at least another 2 or 3 decades. So someone or something is going to have to pipeline roller ski. We believe that SpikeBoarding and stand-up spike can help do that, especially when you know that the sport can excite K to 12, Miami to Seattle, and when you understand that Norway is a country of only 6 million people. Forget about kids. So 6 million people, you're talking about, what, 500,000 children. So we've probably got at least 33 million children in this country. So it's a numbers game, folks. It's just a numbers game. It's a question of putting pipelining kids into it. And all you coaches, athletic coaches, who train baseball, basketball, football, soccer, hockey, lacrosse, basketball, SpikeBoarding, off-season SpikeBoarding is going to rip your kids. It's just going to rip them. They're going to get delighted by practicing it, and they're going to love not having to go to the gym, and you are going to like the effect that it provides you for all of your backs and all of your fast-moving hockey players who cannot gain weight, because to gain weight means you're going to slow down, and you still need to be stronger. So if you got a hockey team and you got 170-pound small guys, and they got to deal with, say, 200-pound people to defend against, you need to make that athlete faster and stronger. And most people do not thrive in gym conditions, and most people do not repeat out of the love and desire to have fun in gym. So if you can give them something fun and something desirable, SpikeBoarding is it. It is very casual and very fun cross-country skiing, and it is strength, endurance, plus balance. And in the case of SpikeBoarding, it's bilateral in nature. So you soccer players, take very special note that SpikeBoarding and switch kicking, the bottom half of the Kubi cross stroke, is going to help you with your double-footedness in soccer. So as you can see there, there's a little bit of a crux for this athlete. This is kind of more of a pitched area, but remember, we're 3/4 of the way into this thing, and it is time to really lock, load, and focus. And notice how there wasn't any sort of freak out. There's like, okay, we got to slow down to virtually a self-arrest. Compose yourself, get it easy. You're focusing on form over and over again. Form, loose and tight, and form. We're trying not to dump wasted energy off the side of the boat. You're trying to keep every single milligram of caloric energy focused on going up, and don't waste it. And relaxing is all about not wasting your energy. So during the loose, it's tight, loose, tight, loose, tight, loose, tight, loose. What you want to focus on is, during the loose phase, you want to focus on whether or not you're doing the tight phase correctly. So really try to focus your mind's eye on your body and focus everything, your hips, your arms, your legs, your shoulders, your neck, and keep yourself as loose as possible. And during that loose time on your recovery, really focus on how it is that you're executing your tight. And there, as you see, is a tremendous amount of speed loss because there's just a missed spike. You just missed your spike, and it totally obliterates momentum. And that, for instance, is something that you do not want to do, and it creates a lot of consternation. And of course, those things happen, especially when you're watching this athlete be filmed, because to get that athlete in the frame situation that you see there requires a lot of coordination on the athlete's part. So it isn't just by accident. There's no magnetic pull or push that's happening that's keeping this athlete well framed. for the viewers. That's being directed by the athlete, and when the athlete needs to begin focusing on directing the picture as well as executing the picture, you're liable to get a misspike like that, and that's what happens. You also might be noticing, you might say, it's not keeping a straight line. It's all over the road. It's going left and right and right and left and left and right. And a lot of that is a function of wanting, again, to stay close to the bike, but not too close. And of course, the nose of that board at sometimes is within 5 inches of that rear tire. So that's why we're going left and right. Right and left, obviously you are going to want to hold the straightest line that you can. And here we are coming up on the neutral, and we're going to begin to neutralize this time zone as soon as that athlete touches the back of the bicycle. And I believe there's going to be about 4 or 5 different push-offs, and we're going to neutralize it from the first time that the SpikeBoarding athlete, stand-up spike athlete, pardon me, touches the back of the bike, and then we're going to restart it once the last time the athlete touches the back of the bike. What you're going to see here, and here we go, coming in for the first time, and there you see, so the bike hits brakes and just scrubs speed for the stand-up spike athlete, and this is all neutral at this point. So we're spiking that particular person. I thought we recognized him. I thought it was him, but we'll find out one day whether it was him or not him. I thought it was a fella I knew. Don't know him all that well, but we'll catch up to him, and we'll find out whether or not. There's not too many people out here doing this sport coast to coast, so people that see it don't soon forget what it is that they're watching. So we'll catch up with that fella someday, and we'll ask him, hey, was that you riding on Malibu Canyon Road when we were stand-up spiking? So as you can see, the braking ability with a bicycle with disc brakes and velo spiking is absolutely divine, works insanely well. And as you can see also that skateboard spike is staying you're keeping your body in between the skateboard spike and the bicycle. Why? Because that skateboard spike can go into the spokes. And you might say, oh, what a terrible thing will happen then. Well, actually nothing will happen. Take it from a velo spiking athlete who's been velo spiking now for the last 3 years, that the skateboard spike is set up for incredibly hard vertical loads, and it is a wimp made of butter for lateral loads. So you stick that skateboard spike into a set of spokes, and it's going to shear as fast as butter, people. And that's a good thing, because if it didn't, it would create quite a bit of havoc. But we will discover all the ways in which all the equipment needs to be modified for safe velo spiking in competition or in practice. But as you saw, no sliding, no radical, and no eating, as they say in the business of downhill, because this isn't the kind of sport that you want to eat those kinds of things. This is not a daredevil radical sport. If you're falling in spikeboarding and stand-up spike, guys, you're doing something terribly wrong. So if you're falling on a road bike, you have made some poor decisions, or you've encountered some really bad drivers on the road and they've caused an accident for you. But you should not be falling in spikeboarding at all. I think you should probably fall in spikeboarding about as much as you fall in road cycling when you get some new pedals and you fall a couple of times, and then the beginners are going to go over the bars a couple of times, and they're going to get most of that out of their system, and they're going to begin to pay attention and slow down into areas where they can foresee that there's going to be consternation, turbulence, or an inability to control the bicycle and keep the rubber side down. So that is the same, folks, with spikeboarding. Basically, there's the water we were talking about. So after this water crossing, you're really slowing the bike down like crazy. There's one more, and what we don't want is schmutz and wetness to fall on our lens and ruin our pretty pictures. So really took it easy, and that's what this whole this neutral time section was about. Like I said, we had about a minute back with the fellas. We had about another 3 minutes here, so we just called it around a 4-minute 27 is what we took away from the time code, and then we came up with a 1:22:33 for this King of Mountain. And we're kind of going through here nice and slow as you please, so that rear tire can just start to warm in the sun. And we didn't want to rub the tire, we didn't want to get our hands too wet, even though the skateboard spike works insanely well under wet conditions, assuming you have worn the proper glove. So simple gloves that we buy at Home Depot, they're called Pro Grip, I believe. You can find that on our Facebook page, but they're only $10 gloves. They work really well. You buy them like socks, about 5-6 pair a year. You'll blast right through them. We grab the tire just a little bit, so all this is neutral. All is neutral. Actually, I think we called the neutral way back there, so the time might even be 1:22. Who knows? But in any event, here we go. We're ramping this back up, and we're also wearing wrist guards, guys. So when you start, you're going to wear elbow pads, knee pads, and wrist guards, because there's going to be a tiny little falling down. You're probably going to be falling down slow. You don't want to tag your skin and have it all marred up and have to deal with it for 10 days with best trace and band-aids. So, but ultimately, once you're dialing in the sport, after say 9 to 15, 16 months, elbow pads, knee pads are going to disappear. Your helmet will always remain, and your wrist guards and your gloves will always stay on. And your wrist guards will support your wrists, very similar to football players, or the taped knees of football players, or the taped hands of boxers. So the wrist joint, when it's given support, is going to transmit much more energy in stand-up spike than an unsupported one. Remember, there's no strap, so skiers don't need to rely on strength or the power of their wrists. They have straps, so they have an altogether different situation. They actually have to be much more careful about hand injuries. So when you ski, coming down on those straps and just torquing away at the hand, you really want to break into that rather easily. Slowly, rather easy and slow into a double pole and roller ski and cross-country ski straps. You do it too fast, you're liable to get yourself some hand injuries. Those straps really bear down. But at spikeboarding, you're going to want to wear, at stand-up spike, you're going to want to wear wrist guards that are all encompassing of your wrists, and they're going to not only toss you out of a truck with those things at 40 miles an hour, everything would break except your wrists. And of course, they're also just going to add support to your wrists. And the more support you have, the more power is going to be transmitted down in through the board. Notice how those feet are facing forward. And what we've got going on is that front left foot, the heel is on one rail. The rail means the edge of the board. And the toes on the back foot, the right foot, are on the rail on that right side of the board. And when you switch, it's the same setup. So to be able to turn the board, you need to have feet on the rails. Notice how the toe is on the rails on your right side, the athlete's left side, and on your left side, the athlete's right side, you've got the heel riding right over that rail. That's going to be able to make that board turn very, very well. And slow stand-up spike turning is something that's a little frustrating when you first begin to do it. And it feels as if you sometimes can't get the board to turn and go the way you want it. But if you've been watching closely, you'll notice that there are quite a few things to navigate through. And the slower you go, the more possibility it is of hitting these things and not being able to go over them because you're not going all that fast. So you really want to avoid bumps and nooks, crannies, and rocks as much as you can because they will destabilize you, send you on a little vacation, and it will be just uncomfortable. And steering on the board uphill is an acquired skill set. You really wouldn't think of it when you're watching this video, but because of the consternation that's being caused by the load in the upper body, turning begins to become you know, anything that has to do with concentration and certainty becomes more and more challenging because of the load that's bearing down on you, and because you're standing. You're not, you know, it's different on bicycles. It's the same concept, only, you know, there's a seat under your ass and there's pedals under your feet, and your arms are connected to handlebars that you can lean on. So you kind of run the motor and is just full on, and you never really need to take care of any navigation, or, you know, things don't become you know, turbulent and strange and challenging in that way. But when you are standing and you're not registered other than sort of loosely on the top of a board, and you're actually bracing. Every time you spike, you're actually bracing. So never forget that. You're like a tripod to a certain extent. You're braced with your feet on the ground and then the tripod. But it all really depends on how the rest of you is positioned. So in that regard, there is a certain amount of registration. But in any event, steering, that's what I was speaking about, and that steering does become fundamental, and it's a huge part of stand-up spiking. And in the beginning, because of the nature of the board, you know, sometimes people say, oh, I can't turn left, I can't turn right. Slowly the steering will come into play, and you'll control it. And again, if you're not controlling it, then lower your incline. Get away from things that you aren't doing well. So all of spikeboarding and all of stand-up spike all begins with how slow can you go? Drills, how slow can you go successfully? So it's impossible to go fast unless you can go slow. You can't accelerate poor form. It's impossible. It's just never going to happen. So don't ever be in a hurry with any aspect of the sport, and also always keep in mind that you're in control of whether or not you're going to fall down or not, or have any sort of accidents. And so it's up to you. It's the decisions that you make. This is not triple axel. This is not, you know, ollieing, all those radical acrobats. It's not balance beam. Everything that I just mentioned, you're going to have to fall down. It's just part of acrobat. If you don't get on a balance beam and do that backflip, you'll never know. So you have to do that. But spikeboarding, stand-up spike is a endurance sport, and you shouldn't be falling at all. And we're getting closer and closer to the top. As you can see, this is just a little road that goes along the top of the side edge of a canyon. It's not really mountain, pure mountain, and you just keep spiking away at it, and you're going to get to it. And in effect, it is so long and lean that you begin to lose sight of the ocean, actually, as you can see. Even though we are continuing to summit higher and higher and higher, we're sort of traveling across these high canyon ridges, and there's a couple more left and right of us. I forgot what the names of them are, but they're a little lower than Latigo Canyon Road, and I think also they did take a bit of a brunt with the fires, so they might be closed as well a little bit. And now, gee, our picture went into slow motion there. Don't know exactly why that happened on the video. I think it was just technical here. It might not show up on the video. That's what cut that audio. We're narrating it now from an office. Not quite sure what happened in the video there. I'll just hit the space button. Got it going again. And we're now finalizing this climb. A little tiny dismount there. Not quite sure what happened. We'd have to rewind there. But in racing, that would have been a time penalty. So we haven't quite decided how big a time penalty, whether that be 10 seconds or 1 minute. But when the feet do leave the board for leaders in this racing, it will extract a time penalty from them. So if two people were racing side by side and one of them had a dismount, well, then they would have a time penalty placed on them. And so that will be very interesting once that begins to happen. So if you want a clean run Definitely you want to make sure that your feet never come off. And if they do, just put them right back on, take your time penalty, and up, 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 and away you go. So as we can see, we're just getting closer and closer to the top, and you want to try to finish as strongly as possible. As you get close to the top, try to figure out the last 500 meters, and then just gun it. If you are not finishing strong at the top, then you probably need to go back and keep training smaller stuff. So around this corner, I believe, is going to be the little white fence. Not quite sure if I remember correctly, but we're going to see it here any minute. Folks, we've enjoyed very much speaking to you. Hope you understand stand-up spike a little more now than you did before, and also make sure you take a peek at some more of our videos and begin to understand the sport of spikeboarding. The sport of spikeboarding is the sport of balanced strength. It includes the 3 strokes of ICXC, CXC, and SUS. And today you have been watching only stand-up spike. And of course, stand-up spike is core out your door. There's the Pacific. Now we can spot it again. We're getting right back up. Latigo keeps adding some more elevation for us. And core out your door is a mighty fine skill set to learn. You can commute with it, and remember, it's bilateral, folks. It's left and right, and we will show lots of videos on how you can begin to learn that. Anyone can learn that. It's not as complicated as people make it out to be. The hardest, most challenging thing to do in human propulsion is a C-cut on ice, actually on wheels, in figure skating or in hockey skating. And yes, they do C-cut backwards in figure skating. And stand-up spike bilaterally is nowhere near as hard as that, and neither even is Kubi cross with the switch kick. So definitely give it a little time. If the sport's going to dial in, it'll pay huge rewards for you. You will not be going to the gym any longer, and that's why we made this sport. So wanted it to mimic roller ski, which develops the strength, endurance, and balance ever so well. And of course, spikeboarding, stand-up spike, it's happening on a board, and it's delightful. So here comes the last turn. Now we can see that we're powering it on. Disappear here for a brief moment, and that's it. That's the time as soon as we stop. And folks, we're going to see that little white fence. Latigo Canyon Road, stand-up spike, 122.33, stand-up spike, core out your door with a Sasoi skateboard spike. Make you feel like a new person. First thing a new person needs is to do a little more stand-up spike. See you at the next one.